Welcome to another episode of the Roughly Related to Reselling podcast. My name is Perry Phillips. I go by Podhead Picker on Instagram. If you're feeling the show, if you like the show, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. All right, it's been a couple weeks, I'm not going to lie. I honestly forgot I had a podcast for a minute. And not forgot like, oh, I'm done doing the podcast. I just completely, it was like, I looked at the date and I just didn't even realize it was like last month that I had put out a podcast. I mean, obviously it was an end of the month, but so yeah, it's been a little while. So yeah, been a little while. Just hit a midweek estate sale yesterday. Those are always fun. I love when like a sale pops up out of nowhere. Unfortunately, the one was like, had a lot of cool stuff, but it was all extremely overpriced. Like one of the ladies that was helping with it, she looked familiar, and she was also the lady who posted it. Because like when I was talking to the lady, I was cashing out with the lady who I'm assuming it was like either her mom or something. It was definitely a woman's house. And so I was talking to her and I was cashing out, and they had like a bunch of sealed VHS tapes. Like, so I grabbed a bunch of those. They were cheap enough as it was. And then, so when I got up, I figured I would make like a bundle deal, but she was like going through, there was like some old cameras, and then, what else was there? Old cameras. Yeah, and then there was like a couple like little odds and ends and stuff in there. And so we had come up with like 15 for the cameras, and then like another 30 for the VHS tapes. So we were at 45 already. And then I had a bunch of other stuff. And she ended up being like, how about 40 for everything? So I was like, all right, that works. So I found some stuff, but like a lot of the stuff, the good stuff, was all marked crazy high. Like there was a bunch of these Disney jackets, and I've got a Disney jacket in my store right now, and I have it, I think it's at $150 right now, or $150 maybe. And it's not moved. So they don't go for, a crazy amount. That one had looked like it was around $150. So I think I started at $200. I always start a little high. I have a story about that too. And so like lowered it down, and it's still, I haven't even had somebody look at it. I haven't even had a view. And there's not another one I think available, maybe one more that's like it, but not the same size. So you would think. So it's like, if I was going to buy them, I would buy them at a price where they're probably going to sit for a while. And so like they had $100 on one, $50 on another. So all right. So I left the lady my card. She seemed like she wanted to sell it, and I was like, I'm interested in the jackets, but the prices are just, I was like, they're too high for me to pay for, I was like, for what I do. And she was like, yeah. She kind of like was like, yeah, they're high. Like she didn't set the price on them. So I don't know if somebody else is trying to sell them or what, but we'll see. So they have my info. But it was a cool sale. It was like, there was like a gate to it was like a compound almost. It was one house with a gate. So I got there first and parked. So I was like the first car in, which, good thing, because then it got packed, and they were only letting like a handful of people in at a time. But as I was parked and waiting, the guy's coming over to open the gate. He opens the gate and like tells me to pull through and park. And this lady just like walks up and walks in first. I'm like, dude, that's kind of a fucking dick move. Like, I was parked here waiting, and then like you parked up the street, walked down, and just walked in first. Got here late. I don't know. That's just me. But anyway, I wasn't annoyed about it. Whatever. We were there for different things. But anyway, yeah, it's just fun midweek sales. But unfortunately, didn't get anything crazy. I mean, the cameras were good. I don't know a ton about them. So like it might just end up going to my vintage clothes guy. He takes some of the cameras too. But yeah, it was definitely, and it was like from 4 to 8. It's always like random. So, and there's several people there helping, like family members and stuff. So I don't know what the deal was. You could tell the lady just got off work. She still like had her badge from work on. So I'm assuming she was like just trying to do something quick, but I don't know. Who knows? I did get some like vintage LL Bean shirts. That's what else I got. So, and one's like a jacket. So I should do okay with those. My wife stole one of them. They were all women's. So she took one of those. Still having an issue with that. I'm sitting here looking at this friggin' it's a Galaxy Watch 4 that we got out of a storage unit that my wife said she wanted to swap for her watch. And it's just been sitting here. So I finally took pictures of it, and I was like, if you have till I list it to decide if you want it. Once it's listed, it's not yours anymore. So, and here it sits. So we'll see. Did some sales this weekend. It was pretty dry this last weekend. There was a sale that was advertised that they were going to have records, and you could tell it was like obscure punk records and shit. And so I was like, all right, I know the area. Typically, an hour and a half, like it depends on who's advertising the sale. There's a bunch of factors to determine how early to a sale I'll go. So this sale, I was like, you know what, I'll go a little over 2 hours early. I was going to go like 2.5, 3 hours, but I don't know if it would have mattered. So I get there, and there's already a car there. I'm like, all right. So I pull in. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. So then I get out, and I ask him. I was like, hey, can I ask if you're here for the records? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, you're probably going to buy all or most of them, huh? He's like, yeah, probably. He was like an old guy reading a book. He just had to look like he was there for vinyl records. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I'm a DJ. I spin 78s. I should have given him my card and been like, hey, when you fucking die, let me sell your shit. But yeah, so I just talked to him for a second, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna sit here and fight you for him. I was like, I'm not gonna wait here for 2 hours. So he was like, all right, so I took off, and I ended up driving around, found a few like different things, nothing crazy, and then we ended up going to like a yard sale it was like a family event, but usually they have a yard sale in the parking lot next to where they had this little yard sale, and it wasn't great. Typically it's a lot better. Like I've gotten really good deals on bulk buys at this yard sale, and they do it every year. I think they didn't do it last year, but the year before, like I got a bunch of cool vintage hats, like some t-shirts, like all types of stuff. And they don't usually advertise it. They usually just put at the end of the street, they put like they usually advertise in the newspaper, and then they advertise like at the little bulletin board at the end of the street. So it's not heavily advertised. But yeah, they have some good stuff. Usually this time it was not great. But I guess they had lobster rolls. Like they were doing food. It was like a church fair / carnival, and they had like all this like shitty stuff. No offense. I mean, it was like supposed to be for kids. And I guess my daughter, it was like even shitty for kids. You know what I mean? It was just like they blew the budget on lobster for this event, because the kids stuff was pretty sorry. And then like they had Beanie Babies and shit, and you had to do like carnival things, and it was just like a bunch of like random shit in the street. So we did them all, and the lady, you get a Beanie Baby when you do it. So my daughter asked if her sister could have one. Her sister was like, going on too. So she walks and shit. She could have probably done some of it, but like she would have needed help. And once she gets out of the stroller, she just is at an age where she just takes off for like, she doesn't want to be, she just wants to be running away. So we try to keep her contained if she's chilling. So she was just chilling. So we left her to chill. And so my daughter's like, oh, can she have one? And the lady got kind of weird about it. Like she didn't want to give up her precious Beanie Babies. And it was like, she was like, because my daughter was like, oh, can my sister have one? And she was like, well, where is she? And like, I'm standing right there with her. I'm like, she's right here. She's like, oh, yeah, you can pick one for her. So yeah, we got like two Beanie Babies. The lady thought like, you know, I think it was because I was joking and I said like, oh, I was like, oh, Isla, you getting a Beanie Baby? We can retire. And she like said, oh, did you collect them when you were younger? I was like, no, but I remember my mom and like other people doing it. They're probably around my age now, buying Beanie Babies thinking they were going to retire. But yeah, so then we went to breakfast. So that was after the little yard sale thing. Didn't really get shit. We went to breakfast. And after breakfast, we were trying to find this farm stand. So we went to this farm stand. And then we were trying to get home because it was like getting close to nap time for my youngest. And we drove by this, I don't even remember where it was, but there was this yard sale just on just on the way. It wasn't advertised, nothing. No signs. So we pulled over. I was like, oh, you guys having a sale today? They're like, yeah. So, I'm looking around. There's really not a ton of stuff. There's some Harley stuff. So I ask about Harley t-shirts. And he's like, no. And so then I go and there's like one Walking Dead comic. And I go to buy it. And they were like, oh, I think somebody bought that. They left it because they bought a bunch of stuff. They must have forgot it. And I was like, oh, and I didn't like really want it that bad. So I was just like, oh, you guys can hang on to it. I was like, I don't want to. If they come back, I don't want them to be mad at you guys. So I was like, just like, I'm not that worried about it. I just was going to try to buy something. And so he's like, oh, well, what else do you look for? And I told him, toys, comic books, this, that, and the other. So he brought out a bin of comic books, 2 totes of toys. And his wife left at that point. I wish she had stayed, you know what I mean? Because if the wife stays, they just are so much more willing to negotiate. And this guy was like kind of digging his heels in. So he had a bin of He-Man, Masters of the Universe toys, and then a bin, and then like mixed in there was Transformers. There was a couple turtles, nothing rare or anything like that. But he already started bagging them up individually. But it took him a minute to dig them out. So they've been sitting there for sure because his kid was like, oh, he's got to dig for him. And so then he's telling me he wants $500 for the bin of action figures. And I'm like, oh, looking, none of them are complete. Like maybe one might have been complete, but there was only like a handful of accessories in the bin. And it was just the all loose He-Man figures. And I mean, they're cool. They were in good shape, but it was nowhere near $500 worth of stuff. But then he had another bin of like He-Man vehicles and stuff. And there was like a purple Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I've seen it before, so I knew it was like rare. But then I like, once he was still focused on this thing, I was like, all right. I was like, do you care if I pick stuff out? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. So I picked out the Transformers, and then he wanted $200 for the other tote of the vehicles and stuff. So for some reason he went down to $200 on the tote of vehicles, maybe because he thought they were more of a pain to ship. I don't know. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. Plus, it's going to take forever to sort through the action figures and sell them complete. You know what I mean? And I told him that. I was like, I would have to complete all these, like, to get top dollar for them, like, which is what you're asking. You know what I mean? Like, so I can't really, you don't have the things to make them complete here. So there's no reason for me to pay that much. I didn't say all that, but. So what I did, I picked out the stuff that he didn't really give a shit about, which was like, you could tell he didn't really care about the Transformers. And so I was like, pick those out. And I was like, made a deal with the Transformers and the bin of the vehicles. So he did $250 for that. And then he wanted like another $500 for his comic books. And I'm like going through them. I'm like, oh, he had one that was marked $40. It was like a Transformers comic book. Like, I don't think he marked it, but I think he might have paid $40 for it. But it definitely wasn't a $40 book now. I'm pretty sure I looked it up. And there weren't, like, there was cool, it would have been cool to go through. There was some cool books, but nothing stood out as, like, I even asked him, I was like, oh, do you have any keys, like key comics? And he didn't know. So, like, there could have been some good shit in there. But I left my card and was like, if this stuff sits for a while and you just want to get rid of it and you want to make a deal, let me know. He was like, okay. So we'll see. Who knows? My buddy just like texted me, and I guess he was like said something about people are boycotting Harley Davidson. I don't know. I tried to figure out what it was for. I can never figure out why people are boycotting shit. It's crazy. It's like trying to boycott things in this country. It's like half the shit's owned by the same people, and you boycott one thing, and then you do the things with the other. It's just, it's never ending. What do we want? What are we gonna do? You know what I mean? So, but it was weird because he texted me that, and then like 5 minutes later, I sold the Harley Davidson sweatshirt. And I was like, oh shit. Like, so I don't know if it was like the reverse happened where like people are like, oh, I'm going to buy some Harley Davidson to support them because they did some gay shit. I don't know, but I sold some gay Harley Davidson shit. No, it wasn't gay Harley Davidson shit. It was just regular. It was just like a sweatshirt. It was like a lady's sweatshirt. It might have been a men's sweatshirt. I don't remember. But I sold that. And then I found, I know I talked about getting a bunch of free shit lately, but it's been really good free shit. And I've been actually on top of listing shit, and I've been mixing my shit up with like what I've been putting on eBay. So I brought I know the 90-day total isn't like reflective of how well you're doing, but it's just like a barometer to know on eBay like how your store is doing. But like it was up at 14,000 for a while. I think the most was like 15. But then I pulled a bunch of shit from the store and like wasn't really focusing too hard on it, and like didn't have a ton of time, was always tired. But now I'm like, taking pictures constantly, shipping regularly, which I was shipping regularly before, but now I just try to like pack and ship every day instead of, doing them all Monday when, the night before. Does that make sense? So like after I'm done with this, if I have a few more minutes, I'm probably going to go and pack up the rest of my shit and get it ready for tomorrow. And then ship. Because I feel like that's what makes your eBay store go. They just want you busy, man. They want to keep you fucking, your hands working. Oh yeah, and I had a negative removed, which was crazy. So I had this set of Legos. I put them up on Facebook Marketplace. They were up there forever and didn't sell. So finally I'm like, all right, I'm just going to put them on eBay. I put them up on eBay. They didn't go anywhere near like what the comps had showed. And I had it up there for a little while before I finally dropped the price down. And because like that's how I've been doing it too, is just like dropping prices on shit, trying to move shit, sell lots, like just let's keep it moving, baby. Especially since I've been getting a ton of this shit for free. Like I sold a bunch of $20 things, like just boom, 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 quick. And so, shit, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so this Lego set had been sitting for a little while. So I think I sold it. The person sends me a message and they go, "Hey, I'm local. Can I pick this up like next week or something like that? If it's a problem, then you can just ship it." And I was like, "No, that's fine. Like next week works." They didn't ask me not to like relist it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to relist it cuz like I'm not holding shit. This isn't like, you know what I mean? Like it's a big item too. So 2 weeks went by. It had gone past 2 weeks, and this other person ended up buying it. I shipped it. And then like another 2 weeks go by, and the person sends me a message and is like, "Oh, I missed it." And so I was like, all right, I'm not even going to like, you waited 4 weeks from the initial, 3 weeks from the initial like time that you said you were going to be buying it and wanting to meet. Hold on, sorry. I'm just trying to move the monitors because I'm trying to keep an eye on the children. And so so I didn't reply because I'm like, you know what? I'm like, dude, you fucking drop the ball. Like, I want this shit gone. I don't want this shit like to be sitting here, store it, You said a week. It was 2 weeks. I'm not going to fucking track you down to sell something that's available, easily to purchase. And so then they left a neutral feedback, which a neutral's not the end of the world. But they said oh, buyer canceled order. So I was like, all right. I did the submission for the eBay feedback removal, which never, ever fucking do they remove feedback. They'll give you every fucking line about, well, that was a customer's experience. That was a customer's experience. That's what all they say is that was a customer's experience. And so I submitted it and I gave the reason goes against eBay's policy, whatever. And I've submitted it before as the other way, as an other, option. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but I submitted it as goes against eBay's policy, and I just said yeah, this person asked me to cancel because they wanted to pick up locally after a week. It sold to another customer after 2 weeks. I'm not a storage facility. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. And so they actually removed it almost immediately. So I was I couldn't believe it that they removed it, and that was it. But yeah, that shit never happens. I thought I was gonna have to leave some. I almost just commented on it, and then I was like, oh wait, I could try to submit this for feedback removal. So I guess always try to submit for feedback removal if you get some bullshit feedback. Most of the feedback I get is bullshit. I don't think I've ever had a negative feedback that was actually earned. There's one, the most recent, that the guy, I told them that they could return the shit, and they just refused to return it, and eBay just let them leave a negative. I fucking told them they could return it and I'd refund them, and they never returned it. So anyway, not to bring up past feedback issues. But yeah, and then the week before that for yard sales, I'm trying to think. It was all right. I don't remember 100% what I even got, but I ran into the guy I trade with from time to time, and he had more video games for me. I just finished going through all the ones he gave me, but luckily it wasn't a ton, and I went through them all already. They just weren't in the best of shape, but it happens. Sometimes people's discs, the discs for the video game, I feel weird saying discs. Those things get scratched to fuck, man. They get so scratched up. I don't get it. Would you just throw them on the ground? I get leaving one here or there, but every single disc just being completely scratched. Man, sometimes you get collections that are just pristine and they don't want shit for them, and then you get collections that are expensive and they're trying to get the most money for them. So, whatever. It is what it is. Every time I start doing this podcast, my nose gets all fucking stuffy. It's really annoying. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the microphone. I don't know. Because I'm just talking so much for one period of time for no fucking reason. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, so recently I had talked about going to an estate sale, and they had a bunch of stuff, and I found this one toy. It was still sealed. It was from 1980 Mattel, and when I've dealt with rare toys in the past, they there's usually some basis to go by if it's a known brand and stuff, and then but there was nothing on this thing. There's no solds, no listed. I looked on the Terapeak thing that you can use on eBay. I couldn't find it on there. I looked in ChatGPT. I asked fucking AI. I looked everywhere, and the only thing that I could find was a screenshot, a picture somebody posted on Winnie Cooper. Well, not Winnie Cooper, but the actress who played Winnie Cooper on the Wonder Years. on her Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now. I know it's called X. I'm it feels weird saying it X. Like, what do you post on X? You don't tweet anymore. I guess it does sound better than saying tweet. Anyway, so all I could find was like this picture that somebody had posted to Winnie Cooper's thread asking for like about this toy from back in the day. One person was like, "Oh, I knew I had it." Blah, blah, blah. Somebody was like, "I've come to the conclusion that it's a fever dream," and blah, blah, blah. You know, all the usual internet fucking people that say they're internet things. And so I posted on there too, like, "Hey, I've got one of these toys," because they posted a picture, you know, and it's for sale. But Winnie Cooper never got back to me. So sadly, one of my first crushes, man, back in the day, Winnie Cooper, the Wonder Years. I thought that show was actually like, it was set in the 60s or whatever, and I thought it was like filmed in the 60s. Like, that's how young I was when I watched that show. Like, I didn't understand that they were doing a period piece, you know what I mean? Like, that they were portraying people from a different time period, but they just... But so I didn't get it, you know what I mean? But yeah, so then I posted it. So then I submitted it to Heritage Auction House, and I asked them to evaluate it, and they came back and said it's only worth about $50. But I still listed it high, you know what I mean? Because I just find that hard to believe. Like, I know that like people say that all the time, but like, as somebody who's sold rare toys and seen like that there's a demand for this toy and there's no like real market for one, so I'm like, yeah, I'll start it high. So I started crazy high. I started at 10K, then I moved it to 6K, and when it was at 6K, somebody sent me a message, and I never like get into internet spats ever, because it's just a waste of time, and it's always somebody who has more time than you. You know what I mean? Because typically they're starting it. I wouldn't start it. You know what I mean? Because I just don't have the time for that. And so somebody sent me a message. I'll read the whole interaction because it was pretty annoying. All right, so it's annoying because like I obviously work hard to do what I do, and like for somebody to talk shit about like what you're pricing something at, especially when like so they said something about my other price. I'll read the whole exchange, but like, yeah, like was it really high for that? Like, it could be, but it could not be. You know what I mean? Like, so this is how the exchange went. Okay. Because I wasn't like, I did get a little butthurt, but it was just annoying. So they said 6K question mark exclamation point. I would guess that OG agnostic front t-shirt is worth a lot more than this thing. Laughing emoji. And so that like just rubbed me the wrong way. Normally I wouldn't, and I was just like, I just happened to see it, and like, so I said, you're welcome to make an offer. I see that you've sold all of 172 items on eBay, so maybe you can give me some tips. Now, I checked to see how many items they sold. I did like the whole like internet sleuth thing, and I had to check mine first to make sure it was like sizable enough to make fun of theirs. And it was. And like, then I didn't realize this then, but like, I have more fucking followers than they had sales. So that shit pissed me off, because they're like, because there's obviously a method to like what I'm doing. So then they came back and they said, to be honest, I was convinced it was a typo considering that AF shirt is so reasonably priced. But I suppose the fact that you actually got booty tickled about my harmless message indicates that you might have quirky brain functioning. You should ask 600K for it. Never know. I said, good idea. Then they did a little a little finger OK symbol and the sunglasses. I said, or maybe I list high and then gradually drop it until it sells. I said, probably what I'll do since there are none available and no sold / comps. I said, that's what it's called when you sell something. Odds are with 172 sales that you've probably never set the market on a rare tour before. So that was my big fucking burn. I thought it was pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, let me go back to yeah, so I said that no sold, and I put in parentheses, I said that's what it's called when you sell something. So yeah, I'm like, don't talk shit about how somebody sells something when you've got less than 200. Like I was saying, I have more followers on eBay than they have sales on eBay. You're gonna fucking talk shit about my price point, whether you're joking or not. You know what I mean? Like, fucking bust my ass for that store to sell the amount that I sell by myself. And you're some fucking chump dick motherfucker with 172 sales. Probably for a fucking combined total of $200. Like, the fuck out of here. So, anyway, yeah, I never, ever, ever, like, get into it with people on the internet. Because it's usually, like, pointless. I felt like that was going to go on forever. But I don't know. Maybe they just think I'm fucking either mentally retarded or just, like, insane. Because they're like, Jesus fucking Christ, I was just joking. I was going to buy your t-shirt. Oh, fuck off. Yeah. So, anyway. So, yeah, who knows how much it'll sell for. I have it at 4,000 right now. So I'll keep dropping it down. We'll see. I hope it's more than 50. Like, I just want it to be enough that I can fucking send an email to Heritage Auction and be like, fucking, you need to resign. You're about as good doing as good a job at evaluating the fucking price on something as the head of this Secret Service was at protecting Donald Trump during that assassination attempt. Just not good. Shit. So yeah, let me see. It's getting towards that time where I need to check my phone for shit. But yeah, so I've been getting a ton of free shit. So I started to say this earlier. And yeah, it's been good. I found like a 5 Nights at Freddy's. I went through all of them, I thought, and like looked up each one individually, and like they were, nothing crazy. So I was going to lot up a few of them, but then I was going through them today and I found one that was just like tucked into the corner of the IKEA bag. I swear those things have like fucking secret compartments. Man, IKEA bags, those things are a reseller's best friend, huh? I wish they did like sponsorships. That would be who I would want to be sponsored by, is IKEA bags. Just like fucking, that would be cool. Anyway, they should make IKEA poly mailers. No, I'm just kidding. IKEA bag poly mailers. So fuck, where was I? Oh yeah. So it was like tucked into like one of the corners. And I looked it up, and it was, going for around 150 to 175. I sold it for 120. But I mean, again, it was free. I still have a bunch more free shit that I'm going through. I still have stuff that I paid for, that I still have like G.I. Joes from the 60s that I'm going through. I have a bag full of gold and silver that I've just slowly been selling little by little. So I've been trying to like put shit in my store that's going to be more profitable, keep it moving. And then I still do the smaller $15 items. Like, I found that when I stopped doing those smaller items, that it slowed my store down. And so like, while it is kind of a pain in the ass to have to do a $15 item, there is kind of a benefit to doing it, because it does kind of like, I think that every time you do a sale, and you ship it and do all that stuff, I feel like you sell more. So I do think that the $10 to $15 range is worth it. If it's something easy, I'll do like $8 as like a minimum, but anything under that, I just put in the yard sale pile. And then like I'll do, I did one yard sale. This last yard sale was so quick. I did it in like a day. It was really quick. I think I talked about doing the yard sale already. Made like $500. Yeah, I definitely talked about it because I had that lady who came crazy early and bought out a bunch of shit. But yeah, so the eBay's been picking up. I have Facebook stuff scheduled. Like I have somebody coming on Saturday. You can kind of tell who's going to be, follow through and who isn't. This lady messaged me last night, but she just did is this available? So I didn't even like look at it until this morning. And I replied like, yes, it's available. And she replied right away like, can I come Saturday and pick it up? And it's been sitting forever. She's going to come down and pay $150 to take them. I got them for free. Again, it's more free shit. A ton of what I have right now is free, and it's like selling for hundreds of dollars, which is nice. Just sold the posters, like a blacklight poster, and I sold it for like, I think $300, $350, something like that. So that was a pretty sick poster. I don't know if I could have got more for it, but it had been sitting for a few days before it finally sold. So I doubt that, anybody would have paid anything more. And again, it was another free item, not necessarily free. That one was for work owed or work done. But yeah, it's been hot as fuck this summer. Oh, my youngest is starting to wake up. She's awake. She's just laying there. Today was like 90 degrees. Yeah, my wife's out in the pool. I want to go swimming, but I had to do the podcast for you people. For the people. Football season's coming up. Pretty excited about that. Fantasy football. We had to leave one of our leagues. Amy got into a league that was like local, and it's just too hard to do 2 leagues. Plus, like, felt like our hearts weren't in the other one, because we were all so far apart. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't even remember who's actually in this league. It was a fun league. I'm going to miss it. But the league that we're doing now, we do a draft like in person with everybody. So it's kind of nice. So Amy, this is Amy's first time doing it. So I feel like she's going to do well. I'm not going to get into all the specifics of that. This isn't related to parenting or podcasting. It's just like something that I had going on. All right, let me jump back to the notes that I have here. Oh, fucking A. Okay, good. Do. Oh, man, I've already gone through all of them. Wow. That's funny. Already gone through the whole entire list. I can talk about the fact that I've been trying to see Deadpool and Wolverine for like, I don't know, since it came out. I was going to go the other day. I was just going to be like, fuck it, and go instead of yard sailing on Saturday. That was the day that I drove around, didn't really get shit anyway. I should have just gone then. But then I was going to go the other night because my wife had to get up for work the next morning. So I was like, I'll just go. She's going to bed early. I'll go to the movies and then I can come back. And then I just was so tired. I didn't feel like doing it. But I really want to go see it. I might try to go tonight. See what happens. Because like I keep seeing shit online, then you have to avoid shit, and then you see shit like accidentally. So it's not fun. 'Tis not fun. But yeah, so I'm planning on, so this is August, I think it's August 1st right now. So I'm planning on doing a whatnot auction before the end of the month is over. Do the first one. So I'm either going to do Lego minifigures. Hold on, sorry. This wasn't down all the way. I don't know if that's fucking anything up. Does that sound better? Oh, fuck. Does that? I don't know. So Lego minifigures. I've got accessories, like action figure accessories. I've got some comic books. And then I have some other like Ninja Turtle figures. But I don't know if I want to do the turtles yet. But yeah, that's going to be like the next few auctions. So I still have to figure it out and set it up. And figure out how to do everything. Probably watch a couple YouTube videos. Probably can't be that hard. And I'll keep talking about it. I'll talk about it every week. I mean, not every week if I can. I'll try to remember to do a podcast every week. So yeah, I'm hoping that like I keep forgetting to write stuff down. I just had one thing that we did. What the fuck was it? We went. What? Oh man, I can't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to ask my wife because I can't remember. It was like a recent sale that I went to. That. Now I feel like I'm just making shit up. I feel like I'm just making up a story right now just for the sake of making one up. But, all right, I'm probably going to wrap it up at about 45 minutes so I'm not just rambling for 15 minutes. But, yeah, this weekend looks like it's going to be okay. I don't know. Who knows? There was that sale yesterday that was all right. And then there's like sales this weekend, so we'll see. There's a couple that weren't very advertised. I'll have my daughter, so that's always a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes it's easy, like if all the yard sales are right up on the, like if it's just a sale that I'm standing next to the car, I can leave the car running and leave her in it with the AC on. But if it's like down a path, I have to like take her down there, and unfortunately I can't leave her in the car, but so it makes it a little bit more challenging. But yeah, my 4-year-old, she's been doing better with potty. We've been keeping her naked today, and she used the potty every time by herself. So we'll see how she does during her rest. Gonna be going up to get her in a minute once I wrap up. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Potty training, it's a fucking bitch. Wish I had more shit to talk about. I'm trying to think. We've been so busy that it's like trying to remember. I would need to start writing shit down when it's happening, because otherwise all the weeks blend together in the summer. It's just a lot of shit. All right. That's the podcast this week. I'll do a shorter one. Means I'll do a longer one later when I have more shit to talk about. It's ill prepared this week. I thought I had more stuff written down, but I just realized like this morning that I hadn't written anything down and that I needed to podcast. It's fucking crazy, man. But anyway, I think 45 minutes is fine. It's quality over quantity, right? All right. That's the podcast. Like and subscribe, and I will check back next time.